hope everybody's keeping safe and healthy and sane during this period of incredible madness that we're currently going through. I just look at the world around me and I just cannot believe, sorry, I just had a wash. I just cannot believe some of the things I see sometimes. The importance of the use of a cliche in the world of tyranny is remarkable to me. The use of the cliche as a machine, a mechanism by means of control of people's perceptions, consciousness and awareness. It just never ceases to amaze me. You know, like stay home, save lives, wear a mask, get a booster, this kind of thing. And the condescension is remarkable when it comes to anyone outside the narrative who expresses a viewpoint that's beyond the cliche. They're immediately hit by a condescension that they're not capable of understanding because they don't have the required PhD or doctorate, or they're not educated enough somehow to express that opinion because the opinion lies beyond the pale of the cliche. And you see that on the TV news all the time. They're like this insidious creature called Claire Bourne on Irish TV. She became like the angel of death during the whole Rona thing. And one time they had a woman, I don't know what her name was, she was like Mary from Kilkenny, we'll call her. And before she goes on, she goes, we now have an opinion by an anti-vaxxer. This is Mary from Kilkenny, and you may find what she says very disturbing and upsetting. You know, like, it's disturbing and upsetting that the woman has an opinion of her own. This is how it was put across. And this is followed by, I won't call an interview as a badgering. And the woman was perfectly fine. She wasn't like, you know, I was expecting like to get some kind of arm waving loony to come on and, you know, put across that, you know, like the Illuminati makes the vaccines and all this. But they got a woman who expressed that she wasn't particularly enamored by the idea of this thing had not been tested properly. And the Claire Bourne is saying things like, what are you going to say to people whose relatives have died of the coronavirus? Like, twisting it around. And I've seen this in so many things. They twist it around. Now, Claire Bourne, or whether it's someone on the BBC or CNN or any of these other propaganda outlets, hasn't got a clue what they're talking about. They're just reading a piece of paper handed to them. And it's loaded with cliches, like somehow that it's disturbing to think for yourself, like this woman Mary did. It's an insult to people who suffered if you think for yourself. This is like what we're up against. And we're seeing the same thing over and over again. But what's remarkable is when the cliches stop working, you have the situation you currently have in Ottawa. The current situation you have with Justin Trudeau in Ottawa is what you have when the cliches fail to work anymore. When you cannot use the standard issuances of call to common virtue or, you know, protecting others or all the other usual nonsense, when they can't do that anymore. They literally cannot function anymore. Now, someone like these children of Klaus Schwab, the Justin Trudeau, Jacinta Ardern, Nicola Sturgeon types, they cannot function without these sort of pathological cliches of control. They can't have a debate. You couldn't have a conversation with any of them. You couldn't sit down and have an actual intellectual debate with any of them because they're all stupid. They're all idiots. They would be, if you were to take the average sort of like hotshot, like liberal politician today, or even conservative, look at Johnson, and put them on in England, put them on a spaceship and take them back a TARDIS and take them back 30 years, they would be considered the local village idiot. someone who has a superficial personality, not very bright, not capable of really thinking, and very untrustworthy. And we now live in a world where they take those people and they put them into positions of power because they have no internal self reference in terms of who and what they are, in terms of anything opinion wise that's inside them. Everything inside them has come from someone else. It's not ever been developed. They were always very comfortable in their lives like this. When it's taken from them, when the power of their cliche, the power and the energy that these catchphrases give them is removed from them, they fall asunder. They literally fall apart. It's the most remarkable thing to behold and observe. We have on our side the Memetics. Now, because we come from, you see, in many ways, people like us on our side. Now, like, and there are people on our side who would be kind of like liberally inclined, not all like right wing or centrist like me, anarchisty kind of libertarians, although I'd be less libertarian than anarchist. They're on all different sides, but we have the power of the mimetic. Now, to drive it home how powerful memes are, those of us who use and share memes and shitposts and things like that, we are like we're like the ancient magi living in the modern world. Our book of spells are our book of memes. Our book of witchcraft are our book of shitposting. And the profane of the catchphrase can't possibly deal with that. And you have these, it's so amazing watching what's going on in Ottawa. You think in terms of, it's just, do you remember like the TVs, the kids, I don't know, I think it still does exist. There was a kids' TV show years ago called Transformers, where you had these trucks that transformed into superheroes. Yeah, I think it was made into movies. I think it's still going. But that's like, because what's happened in Ottawa, that the truck drivers have transformed into the transformer superheroes that the trucks became in that Japanese cartoon. They're no longer just trucks, they're actual superheroes. They've unleashed a kind of a chaos magic, and they have decorated their trucks in the magical power, which is things like memes. They're covered in memes. They're calling, like they were Castro Jr. and stuff like that. I actually really do believe that. He looks cannonly like Castro and nothing like his own father. And his mother's a well-known slag. And, well, that's not his fault per se. Other things are his fault, but not that. And it's a beautiful thing to see. It's to see that actually turning, to see, it's like we're no longer using memetics, we are memetics. We're literally creating an alternative reality based on shitposting and memetics. And let that sink in for a second. It's stunning when you think about it. In the same way, and this is the first time this has happened from the people up. If you would have to probably go back to the cave dwellers of the Neolithic world, maybe even the Paleolithic world, to invoke the kind of power that we are invoking now with shitposting and memes. Because everything else from, say, after that to today, even things like hieroglyphics in Egypt, even though it's a very good system, it's pictorial and stuff like that, right-brained, it's always been from the top down. Memes are a kind of folk magic. Shitposting is the witchcraft of the streets, and it's coming from the bottom up. And you just think of the power and how they unleash this astounding levels of propaganda against us. This incredible machine that costs huge amounts of money. And then you could have one single meme and it destroys itself. Now, to show you how reality is now being hacked, loads of people who've taken the needlecraft and died, often their last post was something like to mock the people who are, us who are skeptical about it, saying things like, I got my microchip in me, and that'll be their last Twitter post, and they were dead. So they meme themselves into oblivion. And that American comedian, now I'm not making fun of the fact that the woman fainted on stage and smashed her head, broke her in the skull. I mean, that's not funny. I wouldn't laugh at that. But I am amazed by how she became a three-dimensional meme in real time as she mocked people who didn't take the booster and then literally went down onto the ground with a broken skull. That's three-dimensional memeing. We're now in a place where, it says we're not using the meme, we are the meme. The mimetic is a conscious energetic force that's allowing us to change the reality on this planet in terms of a more just society. This is why the left don't hate it. The left can make propaganda posters. Workers unite, overthrow the capitalists, but they can't meme. The right can't even meme, really. There's a certain type of person, us, whatever we are, who are outside the political bandwidth, who are anti-political. And that's probably what gives us our power, that we understand the power of magic more than anything else. Now, the NPCs and the normies, because of the lack of inner dialogue, don't have convictions. See, that's another thing too, is what gives a meme a power? Its power is to say you see a meme and it comes up and it makes you laugh and you go, I got to share this, right? It's made you laugh because you have a conviction concerning the message within it. The zeitgeist down to what you need it to be in order to get your point across and change reality. It's unbelievably powerful, astounding. This is why the Irish and the British media are not reporting on the Canadian truckers. There's a complete and total news blackout on them. Well, because it's everything they hate. The Irish and British media have a hatred of the working classes. They hate them to the core of their guts. They hate us, right? On top of that, the Canadians, this is Canada's moment to step out into the sun. Canada is a nation that didn't have a kind of a defining national moment. It didn't have an Alamo. It didn't have a Valley Forge. It didn't have a 1916. It didn't have a Dunkirk. It didn't have a Battle of Britain. It didn't have that defining moment where you say to yourself, well, I'm not just a citizen who lives in a place and pays taxes and this is the color of our flag. You become something else. You infuse your sense of nationhood into a form of magic. And so that's why Irish people would have a very powerful relationship with the tricolour that Canadians until now didn't have with the Maple Leaf flag, but now you have it. You have your defining national moment where that's just not a piece of cloth with colours on it, but that itself is a spiritual object. Representing the red, the blood of the Canadian people, and its defiance in the face of pharmacology. In the same way, the Alamo was the famous defiance of the Mexican, Spanish, American, and Mexican War. In the same way, those little ships that saved the cross from the south of England to rescue soldiers from Dunkirk. There's something more going on. In fact, what's going on in Ottawa reminds me a lot of Dunkirk in many ways. It hasn't got to the level of bombing, but it would if they could get away with it. They would bomb them. And there's no way that any politician, any regime will win against that. It's there for good now. It's there for good. I'm back. They tried to cut me off. But people in Canada will say today, my great uncle Johnny, he used to drive a truck that delivered wood, and he was in the blockade in Ottawa, and I'm so proud of what he did for my country, Canada. And that's why Justin Trudeau looks as sickly as he does, because he's profane. He's in violation of natural law. And you cannot be in violation of natural law and survive it. You just can't. You die. You die. You don't. Okay. If you can have a bad time and then get over it, that you've not been in profane in the face of natural law. But when you are profane in the face of natural law, you're completely finished. There's no coming back for you. None. Zero. That's why you have to be careful. You shouldn't mock people who get the needlecraft and get sick and stuff like that. You shouldn't. Things. What is going on here? There's some fucker trying to call me. I don't even know who it is, but I can't see. I don't have my glasses. Sorry, maybe probably a relative or something like that. I'm calling him a fucker, but I'm really busy right now, and I'm trying to finish this video. Please don't be calling me until I'm finished the video. But there's a defining moment. Is today in Canada, and that's the Canada. What you're hearing in Canada is a honk that will be heard around the world. But again, don't make fun of people who've been damaged or hurt by taking the needlecraft. That's profane as well. Don't do it. Just say, well, that's, lesson learned. There's the proof for me. There it is. It's happened. It's happened. So the cliche is the bomb, the weapon, the mind control machine of the establishment. It is literally a pea shooter next to the ICBM of the meme. Who controls the memes of production? We do. Isn't it beautiful? God bless you. The goddess bless you. And even to see something like the Quebecers actually feeling Canadian for the first time in their lives because of the truckers, and sanguine gnosis all the way, brothers and sisters in Canada, and you keep on honking in the free world. Take care.